All right, folks. We are back with Chew Quieter, and if you've ever heard the term "blame Scott," the gentleman that we have today as a guest is the reason for that. His name is Scott Blum. He is the marketing. What the hell is your title? Why don't you just say it?
Well, comically, I actually have a different job that I've had for about a year. That I'm working on a bunch of future stuff. We'll just leave it at that. Like 5 years.
Future Jeep stuff guy.
Yeah, there we go. I'm pretty sure Armando coined that phrase, if I remember right.
I blame Scott.
The whole "I blame Scott" hashtag.
Oh, that's
I think you started that.
I think I started pushing it more than anyone else. Yes.
It caught fire though.
Oh yeah, it did. Yeah, it's.
Does it annoy?
Nah.
Does it annoy you at all?
It makes me laugh.
But
I'm not easily offended.
Well, because we all know it was made in a joke. It was kind of the idea that Scott has all control for everything, right?
Yeah, that's what everybody seems to believe.
but yet we have the opposite side of that is you're just an overpaid janitor.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like I clean up crap a lot, so it's fitting.
So the one thing that Armando brought up to me the other day that you might have had to clean up was before the Gladiator came out, there was some pictures floating around of a JT tub that someone had took at the facility.
Oh yeah, someone. I know who those people were. Because they sent them to me, and I remember going, seriously, just hanging out outside from the road. My first question was, please tell me you guys aren't trespassing.
No.
And then they weren't.
No, we weren't.
And then the next question was like,
who left it in a door, an open door?
Yes.
Just sitting there.
Yeah, I remember.
Is it?
I sent that right
does
on.
The initials. Does the first initial start with a J?
What?
No.
For the person that leaked it?
No. It starts with an A, and the other guy starts with a W.
Yeah. So one of them I can see right now.
One of them is here, and the other one worked with me. Well, we still kind of work together, but when we both worked at Artec, we were floating around the facility out there, and we were just trying to get a picture of the JL in front of the facility somewhere and see all these JLs that were lined up waiting for train cars to be done. And we turn on the corner, and Will's like, and we're both like, no freaking way. We circled probably 4 times before Will was like, all right, I'm going to get out and take a picture. Because we tried cell phone pictures from the vehicle a couple of times. Like, all right, just let me off here. So we let him off and just at the sidewalk and just grabbed the camera and just.
Yeah. Like I say, you guys were literally like on the side of the road. Yeah. Like not.
Yeah, no.
You didn't climb a fence or anything.
No.
We were. I remember sending it. I was like, some acquaintances of mine took this interesting picture today from the side of the road on the sidewalk, and it went a little up from there.
The ultimate corporate espionage.
We had nothing to be espionaging about. It was just interesting that we were there, and at the time Nate was all gaga over this new Gladiator that was coming, and as it was coming, all these things were leaking, and I believe it. Probably I was doing it with Scott a lot, was posting all these pictures of these modified Jeeps that just look like hell put together like by rednecks. And I was like, yes, the new Gladiator.
Yeah. Yes, I remember all that too. Yeah, what's crazy is like if you go, I mean, it's not so much anymore because of COVID and working remote, but if you go anywhere outside of our facility, there are literally photographers that just sit there all day long. They sit right along the side of the road just waiting for somebody to drive in, some prototype or
something that's not on the road yet that they can go, oh, we got it first.
Right. Yeah. So they're all sitting here, full-time job, camped out, and you guys just drive down the street because it says Willie's Parkway. I'm sorry, Willis. I'll get yelled at for that. Just snap pictures. It's like it is what it is.
For the most part, new products are very covert and they're covered with that black plastic tarp thing, right?
Oh yeah, there's some very firm rules. Like early stuff, I mean, you have to have them covered, locked. Like a decade ago when I started, I was like, oh, it's cool to get all these concepts and prototypes. I don't want anywhere near those things now. If you have one, you could be that guy. If you've never touched them, don't have to worry about it.
The one question I've always wanted to ask you, and I haven't because I think I already know the answer to this, but will there ever be a Wrangler that resembles the LJ in a new form, like a, kind of like how they're coming out. There's a few companies that are doing the JL,
Right.
but with the longer tub.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, anything's possible. Like it's the JL was a little bit longer, the 2-door. I mean, it was possible. It could have been longer. It's the challenge is now anymore is nobody really buys the 2-door Jeeps. And then it's an argument like, if you made that, would we sell more of them instead of 4 doors? Who knows? The problem you get is if you try to talk to people, and don't ask me why, because I mean, LJ's, go try to buy an LJ right now, right? Go try and buy a decent LJ. Good luck.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the hardcore people, right, view it as, it should be 2 doors and small and manual transmission, and everything else probably still has a 4-liter in it, and
no progress. It should have a tub wall that's 6 inches tall that you have to step your ass out of and back into, instead of an easy switch and turn to get out. But
yeah, if I were in charge of everything, we'd already have one. I mean, I've looked at buying them numerous times, but you never know. Someday maybe not.
Well, that's
about my best answer I can give you.
What about a limited edition?
That's why Corona was so sought after, right?
Yeah, it's I mean, I thought about, I'd be trying to, auction style with Jake, but I mean, he doesn't have a heated steering wheel. I mean, who has a JL with a non-heated steering wheel?
It's a sport that has an LS. Who cares?
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah. The pores are at it again.
I did. Literally, we were in Moab when I was trying to convince him to sell it to me. I think it was 2 years ago. I got in it and I was like, wait a minute, you don't have a heated wheel? And he's like, no, I said, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah, wow.
It's no interest. I could have painted it get-go. I could have done anything else, but no, heated wheel required.
I remember the year we got lost on Hell's Revenge at night. I was driving with you, and that was the first trail that you had. You got your Jeep back after being mocked up, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Oh, yeah, that was probably where I was yelling at people because they were blinding me from behind. And I get lost. It used to be a running joke. Every year at EJS, Fred Williams would do like a themed ride on Hell's Revenge at night. 100% of the time, we got lost. Every year, the group would go out with 20 people. Within 2 hours, you'd see everybody all across the hills. Nobody knew where they were. We would plan on not finishing together. Like, okay, everybody will meet back downtown in like 3 hours after half of us are lost. And I don't know why. And I think we've run that trail a million times.
And I think that was the year they first opened up the new exit, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so we were trying to go out the new exit and we couldn't find it.
Yes.
And I think we had passed it like twice.
Probably. Yeah.
So we ended up going out the old exit, which
is one way.
Which
is one way now.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate that damn exit, by the way. It just takes so long to get off of it.
Yeah. Last time we were out there, I actually pinned the new exit in my phone, so I never lose it again. Because it is, once you hit the old exit, it's like, I always tell people, like, it's just miserable. Like there's nothing fun. It's miserable.
No.
Beat the piss out of you for an hour and a half, and that's it.
It completely takes the joy out of whatever you just did the previous 2 hours.
Yep. Pretty much.
But I don't know how we always get lost. It's just we know it's right after the bowls. Coming back out, we know it's right after that. You got to make a left somewhere, and we always wonder where that somewhere is. But it's so damn dark.
Yep.
Yeah, the darkness kills you out there.
That trail, comically, the first time I took Mallory to Moab was, I don't even know, it's probably been 5-6 years now. We pulled up to Hell's Gate, and I kind of had this weird look on my face. I'm like, And she's like, what do you mean, And I told her, I said, I've never actually been up this during the day. She said, what do you mean? I said, I've never. She goes, you do this in the dark? I said, yeah, I don't actually know how to drive this in the light because I'm used to hanging out the side with a flashlight with Carvello on the other side, trying to figure out where we are in our, stock Jeeps with no lights whatsoever. So it was interesting the first time I did it with my wife in the car in the daylight.
I think it's funny though that at night when you get lost, you'll have just experienced people out there with their cell phone cameras or not their cameras, their cell phone flashlights pointed at the ground looking for markings.
Yep. Yeah, those
like
tire marks.
There's either tire marks or paint
There's
marks.
really
everyone's looking for that. Something.
One faint white line in the middle that's covered with tire tracks.
Well, I was told
and then if you see,
go ahead.
If you see a single track one, also it'll throw you off.
Uh-huh. What I found out there was everybody's got these LEDs now, right? Which are, assuming you're not blinding everyone, which some people do, they wash out all the tire tracks. You can't see anything. Like the yellow ones work good. The LEDs, you might as well just shut your lights off and drive in the dark. You can see just as good.
Yeah, you have a point. Speaking of the headlights, how are those headlights legal?
Which yeah,
the jail headlights.
How
are they DOT approved? Comical,
they are actually, according to Consumer Reports, they are rated as poor.
Exactly.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. The LEDs are rated as poor performance, and I'm like, who tested those? Like, is the person blind? But yeah, I don't know. I love those things, but they even those they scored poor. Which
I wonder what the criteria is.
I have no idea. I probably should know that, but I think it's pattern. They're really bright, but I don't know that they spread out enough. There's a not to sidetrack us too much, but we actually have a facility in Windsor, Canada, right across the border, that is purely for headlight testing. So when you pull in, it's completely dark. There's a 4-lane highway, like mocked up inside of it with traffic signs, above, besides, and they measure everywhere to try to, get the light so you can see animals that they have simulated animals that come out, and it's wild the amount of money the OEMs spend on testing.
Sounds like some 3D archery stuff that I go
yep.
to.
Except it's like an airplane hangar. It's truly, I think it's 300 yards long, something like that. It's probably a metric system in Canada, but it's it's what is that, 100 meters? I don't even know.
It's 100 meters, eh?
Yeah, there's a lot of testing stuff that we do that is crazy.
How many testing facilities do you have?
There is some at our headquarters in Auburn Hills in Detroit. There's one in Chelsea, Michigan, that's the main proving grounds, which is about an hour from here. Yucca, Arizona. There's one in northern Michigan that's not really ours, but where we go for cold weather testing. And then in Europe, there's a bunch too. I mean, between our merger with Fiat and then with PSA, there's a lot of them in Europe too. Fiat actually has a test track on the top of a building over there. Like Fiat's headquarters, there's actually a track on the roof.
I think I've seen pictures of that.
Yeah, it's like a half-mile loop on the roof of the building.
That's wild. So would you consider the Rubicon Trail a testing ground?
Yeah.
Because from what I've heard, that's how these badges get designated to the vehicles, is if it's capable of running the Rubicon, it gets the Rubicon badge.
Yeah, they take Rubicon and Moab both. We've taken just about everything through the Rubicon. I mean, they take Compasses and Renegades through the Rubicon. They make it, but it's there's an army of rock stackers, and they only go so far. But yeah, they have to. Wranglers and Gladiators, they've all gone. Even base sports, they go through the whole trail, bone stock as a sport, and then the Rubicon obviously is equipped a little better to go through it. But the sports come back looking not the best. They make it through, but they don't add anything. There's no rock rails added, nothing. So they come back and the quarters are a little adjusted and the rockers are a little, they got some stories to tell, especially the Gladiator. Like picture taking a Gladiator sport, like on stock street tires. Well, I shouldn't say street tires, God. Right? The stock tires that are not really off-road tires through the Rubicon, like at that height and everything. It's gets a little messed up.
Yeah,
but they make it.
So the first time I was on the Rubicon, we were on at the same time. They were, I don't know if they were testing. I think it was a Liberty or Compass. It might have even been a Cherokee. I can't even remember, but it was 2015. But I noticed they had a full team of people literally stacking rocks to make basically a ramp for the vehicles going up different obstacles.
On some of them,
and Yeah, and then as soon as it got off, they would unstack and just throw them wherever, just randomly.
Yeah, they actually work with Jeep Jamboree does it. So a lot of the when they go out through there, they actually work with Jeep Jamboree to go through there for guides and stuff. There's a certain level of, again, this is my view. How many rocks do you stack before it doesn't count? Right? Like,
well, as long as you don't bring your own rocks, you're using trail rocks, you're okay.
Yeah.
Right.
They but yeah, they go out through there. They do a lot of one of my really good friends here is on the validation team, I'd call it, right? And he's constantly out in Moab, the Rubicon. They do Sand Hollow a lot now too, because they've started doing it as we've got more especially Mojaves and stuff, right? Sand Hollow has dunes and rocks, so they've been doing more stuff. They go to Glamis. They go to all this. They spend a lot of time out there.
Mm-hmm. So I realize there's also 2 different Rubicon trails. And when I say that, it's tongue in cheek, because there's the Rubicon Trail that's not manicured before the Jeep Jamboree, where it's rutted out. There's no rock stacked anywhere, and it's probably at the most roughest form that you can wheel it on. And then there is the Rubicon Trail that is better for the Jeep Jamboree. They come in and they kind of groom it a little bit, and they put rocks in certain places so that way they have, let's say, for example, a TJ on 32s can make it with no problem. I don't know how can I put this without offending people, but how can you say that how can one person say that they've done it during Jeep Jamboree and say with a straight face that it was difficult without really running it before the Jeep Jamboree? I mean, it's two totally different trails that acts completely different.
It's
ugly's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah. I was gonna say, it all depends on, some of the most fun I have, my Jeeps always end up I go nuts and build them too much, and you have to do, but some of the most fun I ever have is when I have stock ones, like bone stock, take them places that you have to actually remember how to drive instead of just, taking, let's be real. A 4-door Jeep on 40s on Hell's Revenge, you could pretty much it'll drive itself.
Point and shoot. It's so easy. So the year that I did that, you guys helped me wrap the white Jeep that was a rental from Nina at Barlow's. Remember that one? It was on 35s, and I followed all these fools everywhere, except for I wasn't allowed to go on Pritchett, and it was tough, but it made me drive better, and I was like, oh, this is so nice to be able to get on almost, not stock, but it was stock enough where you felt it difficult.
Oh yeah. Well, like when I took that bone stock 392 on Behind the Rocks like 2 years ago, besides getting turtled on high dive immediately, but it's different, right? You have to actually drive. And so I tell people that all the time when they'll go buy, saying, I'm going to throw 40s on it. I'm like, drive it stock, like learn how to drive. Like it's, you can always tell if you started out driving something, whether it's a Toyota, Jeep, whatever, right? If you just took something and just drove it the way it was, you can always tell, right? Because you can see who picks their lines and who doesn't, versus, anymore, some of the people, you got these Jeeps that are like, you could take them, I'm not going to say you could take them out to the hammers and do everything, but you could do a lot of stuff and be like, oh, I did fins and things. Great. I did fins and things in a Renegade. It's like, it's all in the eye of the beholder, I guess. It's, as long as you're having fun doing it, it's just the bigger problem you have is, and you guys have probably seen this, right? Is everything keeps getting bigger, and the folks that can't drive just dig everything to go. There's trails I used to do that you could reasonably do them on 35s or 37s. You better have 40s or bigger now to do that same trail, because the ruts are 40 inches deep from just digging and digging and digging, especially on the East Coast. Like you go to like Windrock or, anywhere that's not, hard stone, right? Where it's mud. And some of those things, I've gone places and I'm like, oh, I did this a couple of years ago. And I roll up and I'm like, holy, like what the hell happened? Like, did somebody bring an excavator in here? Because it's just completely dug up. But
I remember having 35s and a 2.5 inch on a JK. And, I was about 3.5, 4 years into owning it, and I told someone I want to go to 40s. I think it's time I can go to 40s. They're like, you know what? Stay on 35s as long as you can. This is going to help you be a better wheeler. It's going to help you learn how to pick lines. You're going to learn throttle control better. Stay on 35s as long as you can. And so I took this person's advice because I knew they were a really good wheeler. And it wasn't until, a couple of years later that I went to a 40-inch tire. And it did help. I actually think a 35-inch tire and a 2.5-inch lift is perfect. You can wheel that almost everywhere. I mean, there's some places that you can't wheel, like maybe 10 Falls or something like that in Grand Junction. But for the most part, that'll get you damn near everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Especially, like, that's what I told people today. Like, they're like, why don't Jeep offer 40s from the factory? Okay, let's ignore all the impossibilities of making that legal, right? But it's like, I would argue that if you go buy like the factory 35, whether it's buy a Bronco, Jeep, whatever, right? 99% of the places most people are willing to take a $60,000+ vehicle, you can go with that size tire, right? Granted, there's the people that don't care and will but most people aren't going to take a brand new $60,000 ride out where you need, 37s, 40s, 42s. There's definitely people that do, but generally speaking, it's like learn how to drive it. I don't know. I spend a lot of time. I've spent probably more time wheeling stock Jeeps than my own, and it helps you a lot because you don't have get a Moab. Granted, a lot of the trails aren't super difficult, but some of them are. Well, stock Jeeps don't have winches, right? So you're out there on 33s with a group of 5, 6 of us. None of us have a winch because you just don't have them. They're stock. You got to learn how to drive or you're going to be stuck because typically somebody you got toe straps, but you get pretty good at picking your lines. I guess is a good way of saying it.
Right.
Yep.
Out of survival.
Yeah.
I think there's a mentality these days where looking cool is more important than knowing how to outfit your rig properly.
That's true.
And the example that I give is, the soccer mom or just any guy really that maybe wheels it twice a year, wants to put tons and 40s on it just because his neighbor has it or one of his friends have it. And it to me, it's just a bunch of waste of money. They want to put all these, the angry grill, they want to put the lights, they want to put this and that, but none of that actually improves the vehicle's performance. It's just a cool factor. It's a look.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of credit card builds out there where that they're like 150 grand with everything you can imagine. Swaps, axle swaps, engine swaps, full on body swaps, full cages and everything. And the guy's like on his first try. It's like his first vehicle. And then you see it for sale 6 months later because he just didn't like it after
it rides
after
like
putting
crap
on
on the road. And
yeah,
it's 5 miles a gallon.
It's not a daily driver. So funny, Scott brought up the Carvalho thing. The big blue 4-door JK.
Blue Crush. When that first came out, it was out at KOH. And we were trying to do something with the Mopar, and we went out with the underground guys, and they're like, "Okay, follow us as far as you can," because I'm on a 30 Jeep on a JK on 35s open to open. And they got to the end of it, and I'm still there. He's like, "How did you make it all the way up here?" I'm like, "I just found the lines." I mean, but when you have to wheel that way, you find a way to wheel that way, and. And it makes you better. And I always feel it makes me better to drive like the stock. Some of it too, I've learned, I don't know, maybe I'm getting old. Like I tend to overbuild my Jeeps by all regards. Like I bought my 392, right? I'm like, oh, I'm going to take and do all the stuff to it. Hell, half the stuff I bought to do it. And then I was like, you know what? I actually don't want to do it. So it's sitting on 38s right now, which I've laughed with my friend Alex. We've been like, some people, this is like their, like what they desire to be someday. And I'm like, oh, it's so small. But the thing is, the thing drives good. I could jump in that thing right now and drive it to California. I mean, it's going to ride as good as any Jeep is going to ride ever. But it's still on. I mean, it's got Curry's, but it's still got like, semi-float rear, factory width, all that. Like, so I didn't add 1,000 pounds of weight to it. I didn't add my, super heavy, well, I guess it's got bead locks and everything, so it's kind of heavy, but it's kind of a step down because I realized I live in Michigan. 90% of the time, I'm driving that thing on the road anyway, like taking Tyler to school or running to the gas station, whatever. Now, granted, I'm building another one that's going to be just to get destroyed, but it's I said I got power steps and stuff on it, right? I'm like I don't know. Like I said, maybe I'm getting old. But I was like, still, the thing is, we take it to the off-road parks, and it does just fine. I mean, yes, it will not go places where I could have taken my 140s. I also wouldn't take that Jeep in that line anyway. I don't care what it had on it because I don't want to destroy the thing. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe get there with age.
Yeah, I think you're right, because when I sold my JK, I knew for a fact that I was going to, and I sold the JK, bought the house, and I knew I was going to need a truck for home projects. The reason why I didn't get a Gladiator is because I knew I was going to try to put, 37s or 40s on it.
Right.
I was going to eventually want to put 1 tons and wheel it. I was going to eventually try to, put a RK suspension on it and coilovers and this and that. So I was like, well, if I'm going to have home projects, I'm not going to have enough money to outfit a Gladiator. So for means of self-control and self-preservation, I bought a Tacoma.
I thought you were buying a truck.
And I'm kind of...
I thought you said you were going to get a truck. Sorry, go ahead.
So is this how you come out of the closet?
Like I said, for self-preservation. But I mean, I knew I wasn't gonna outfit that with anything, because I mean, to modify the suspension on a Tacoma, it costs a little bit more than it does a Gladiator. So my plan is working. And I also thought to myself, if I'm going to wheel again, and not have a camera in my hand, because that's the thing. If I'm out wheeling, I'm going to have a camera in my hand, and I can't do both at the same time. Right. So I told myself, if I'm going to wheel again, it's either going to be a buggy, or I'm going to find myself a TJ and stretch it, or an LJ and put Curry's on it and go that route. So, like I said, my plan so far is working. I haven't done anything to it except for upgrade the headlights and put some LEDs in it, just because the stock halogens were just garbage, especially in the country.
JK garbage or a step above that?
Oh no, it was way below that.
Oh wow! So you got one kid, you got one lighter out there.
Yeah, so it's almost like one of those gas lanterns, just someone just in front of it, type thing, But yeah, so speaking of outfitting Gladiators, what's your thoughts on everyone bobbing the beds?
Oh, people are gonna hate my answer to this thing, right? But like, people will ask me frequently, why don't you have a Gladiator? And I tell them, I said, well, I wheel, so I need a Jeep, and I do truck things, so I need a truck. And Gladiators are cool, but they don't do truck things. Like they don't do what I need to do, right? I can't tow my Wrangler with a Gladiator. If you're gonna wheel, if it fits your needs, you're gonna wheel one. I mean, you can bob them. The problem is it's just so small. For me, it's like one of those, like, what's different? If you're gonna do that, why not just get a 4-door?
Buy jail,
right?
Just buy jail 4-door.
But there's some pros to it. I mean, I personally, and sorry, Dan, I'm not meaning to offend you, but I personally like it. Like when people take the factory one and shrink it down. Motorboats is probably easier by all means, because you can just buy it and you're not trying to do body work, because that's not, the average person's not bobbing a bed of a factory Gladiator and making it look not like crap.
Well, there was the guy I posted yesterday.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. If you take pictures from somebody else, it's real easy to make it look good. But yeah, I mean, I guess there's people that do it. They like it. I wouldn't do it, because if I was going to do that, I'd just get a Wrangler, because the breakover is still so big. Unless you're going to like 42s, like a lot of the guys I see take those and they put them on 42s, 44s, or bigger, and they just want a truck, then go for it. I wouldn't do it just because I need a truck. I mean, I have a heavy duty truck.
How much truck do you have though? Is your bed 39 inches long?
Oh, with one of the, I think it's like 3 feet. Yeah, it's not much.
Yeah, it's not really a truck.
Yeah.
I feel there was more storage in the JL. Put some sort of shelf in the back and have way more storage inside than outside in the open. I don't know.
Yeah, between the two, between doing those two, I just have a JL. That's just me.
Yeah.
I guess there's probably cases I can make for it, but I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get everything. So
I haven't found one yet.
everyone always accuses me of bashing on the Gladiator all the time. So I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan.
So this was a sore subject.
There's a purpose for it. I mean, like I said, it's if I think back to when I had one vehicle, if I wanted I needed to do home projects, right? And I wanted to go wheeling some, it probably works really good. I could never daily drive a Wrangler again. It's just not because it's not comfortable. The new ones are actually pretty nice. It's just too small. I'm too damn big to daily drive that. Or maybe it's just I'm used to the big stuff.
My biggest concern with the new Wrangler is the length of the hood. When I was in one, I was just like, holy fuck, I can't see over this fucking hood.
Yeah.
It's not so much the length, it's the hump.
Subject.
It's the hump.
Yeah.
It's the hump, not the length.
Yeah. Like say the thing that's funny is so my yellow one I built was a sport, right? Because I did this thing's getting built and I'm going to start with a sport. It's stupid to start with the Rubicon. Dumbest thing I ever did in my life, to be very clear. Anybody that says that just doesn't know. My JK was a Rubicon. There was nothing left. By the time I was done with it, a Rubicon. So I did a sport and a J out. I would never do it again. It was literally dumb. But the hood on that thing is a little bit lower. Then you got the Rubicon that has a little bigger hump. And I noticed it. And I used to always make fun of the front camera. I'm like, why do people want this stupid front camera? Like, you have two eyes. Like, use them.
Yeah, except for
then
when
I got
you're
my
like
392.
this.
Yeah. Then I got my 392. I can't see. I'm pretty sure you guys could stand in front of the thing. I couldn't see you.
No.
Like, it's the hump on that thing is like stupid. As soon as I bought that first time I took it off road, I was like, yeah, I'm an idiot for not getting the camera. Like, I wish I had the front camera because I can't see shit.
Yeah.
And that's flat. You go vertical and you're just guessing. But it's weird because it has to do, I think, with seating and everything. Because I get in a TJ or an LJ. That hood's 6 inches longer than a JL. You don't notice it. You don't have issues seeing out the front. It's got to be something with the way the height and
It's
the way you sit.
It's a height and hood angle.
Yeah.
The hood angles straight almost like that on a TJ. Whereas the JK comes out, the JL goes like that and then dumps down at the very end. So it's hard to see.
So what engineer do we blame for this?
Still blame Scott.
Yeah, it's probably me. Yeah, it's like I said, the one I really noticed, like if you get into Mojave or a 392, right? It's just like, oh my God, you don't realize that extra inch, how much it makes difference. Like I used to bash, no joke. I was like, I don't get the front camera. I never will understand it until I got that. And I was like, now I'm like, everyone should have it. Like it should just come standard. It's so that every time you get on any kind of incline, you actually have some clue where you're going.
And for what it's worth, the Ram is not any better.
Oh yeah. Oh my.
Try wheeling the Ram.
So comically, I have a 2500, and it's currently having its door replaced because the wind took out the side of it. So my loaner is a 2500, and for 24 they added the same type like intake system like GM and them have, which raised the hood up another like 2 inches.
Yeah, with that sport hood with that inlet.
Yeah, you can't see like it is. Tyler walks in front of it every morning at the bus stop. I have no idea where he is. And then the other funny thing is like it comes up in the back, like kind of like comes up and goes out and back down. So like the roof clearance lights glow off of it. So when I'm driving it, I just see like this orange glow in front of me the whole time. I was like, somebody didn't test that.
Yeah.
But they're all getting so big. It's hard to see out some stuff.
Yeah. Wheeling the Ram in Colorado and Washington, we get up some of the hypes, and I'm like, stop. Front camera, tick.
Yeah, I took a power wagon once at our proving grounds through the woods. It was the funnest and worst experience of my life. Like 17-point turns, didn't even explain, right? Because you're trying to go through trees that are probably an inch wider than that truck. It does good for what it is, but oh my God, it's like trying to take a limousine through the woods. As you would know if you did it out west.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they take them through.
Yeah, we took a power wagon through Fordyce, and that was an adventure.
Oh, that was at Cooper's.
4 or 5 point turns.
It was
yeah,
Cooper's. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's because you spent half time towing it too.
Yeah, and then it breaks because
Yes,
it's
it breaks.
Coopers.
Yeah.
Hit.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions that came from. I was talking to a few people that was mentioning that you were going to be on the podcast, and they wanted to ask you a few questions.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So question number one from viewers: the 392. Why does it have small axles? I think they're trying to ask why didn't it come with tons?
Oh, that's a good one. Reality is, that vehicle to exist in the first place took 8 years of a complete pain in the ass asking for it. There's only so much money. That's the real thing is it comes down to cost, right? I mean, if you realized what it costs, just to give you an idea, you're talking an 8-figure bill to put axles, to develop new axles, right? For a vehicle you sell a couple of thousand a year. So what I've always told people before was, assume they put tons under it. First of all, you'd have narrow tons. Like, who wants a 68-inch wide 1-ton axle underneath the Jeep? Let's assume you got past that. It'd cost you 25 grand extra. By the time you take the amount it costs to develop it and factor into the, 2,500 a year we sell, take, I won't give you an exact number because I'll get in trouble, but there's, it's a 6-figure bill, or I'm sorry. Yeah. 8-figure bill. Did I say 6? I meant 8. So you're talking tens of millions, right? Figure it's 10 million and you build 10,000 of them. That's, what is that, 10 grand a piece? My math's not working real great right now, but it's, by the time you get them, you'd end up with tons you don't want, right? Because you're going to want hubs and, full width and all that stuff.
Yeah. Tons with the fat. Tons with the fat would be great. Because all you do is swap them anyway.
Yeah. You're going to have tons of fat. I mean, it's a valid question, right? I mean, I tried. We'll put it that way. It's all cost.
So next question is, the Wrangler, the Gladiator now seem to have incentives for the first time in maybe forever. Was the reasoning for this the market, or was there something else going on that pushed an incentive for the Jeep Wrangler?
I think they're really trying to clear them out before the 24s come, right? So they showed off the 24s, which will start showing up in the next probably month or so.
They're already there.
Quite a few of them on the ground.
They're already there.
The Wranglers are. I don't think the Gladiators are yet.
No,
but they're coming.
Yeah.
And it's that truck segment's weird, right? I think it goes back to, again, I won't bash on the Gladiator, but I think the customer base for the Gladiator, right, is much more limited, right? So when they first launched, right, you couldn't find one. If you wanted a Gladiator, you're paying before COVID, you were paying over sticker, right? Mm-hmm. And over time, you compare it to the other mid-sized trucks, like your Tacoma. I mean, drive a Gladiator, drive your Tacoma. If you're not wheeling, which one are you buying? You're probably not buying the Gladiator, right? And you've got, in that time frame, you've had Ranger came, Colorado, Canyon. So there's a lot of new, I'll call mid-sized trucks that I think some of it's probably demand. Like they're probably, built too many at a point in time is my guess. But there's, I think a lot of it is actually just around trying to clear them out for the 24s coming. Because I mean, it's nuts. There's, I think, what is it this month? Like 15% off or something crazy. I almost bought one like last month because I was like, Jesus, you're taking 15 grand off the hood. Like, what does it cost?
Yeah.
And then I looked and they're just expensive though still.
So we're seeing, the other side of that is the dealers are seeing like 700 days for inventory where they're usually not 90 days in inventory sitting on a lot. So there's a lot less demand, but a part of that is who's buying a $100,000 truck at an 8% interest rate. Mm-hmm. And I keep looking for a TRX, and my Ram would be gone in a second for a TRX. And I can't see spending that much money at a 7% interest rate plus. And I have almost a perfect credit score. It's ridiculous that I can't do that for under 7%. Like 7.6 was the cheapest that I get a credit union to give me an offer for percentage rate.
Yeah, if you look across automotive in general, right? The last probably 12 months, you're seeing everything slowing down some. It's finally catching up, right? Like all the, I'll call it COVID money's gone. right? The rates are all going up, and then all the costs have gone up. Everybody thinks it's just all the OEMs being greedy, but they don't realize that every single supplier is hitting them with the same numbers too, right? So, I mean, I won't say they're not making any more on anything, but it's not like they're just marking up prices 10 grand to make 10 grand more. It's coming from everywhere, right? You've got all the contracts going with all the different unions across suppliers, and everything's going up because of inflation. It just ends up snowballing to the point where you're paying for it, right? I mean, if anybody ever thought people were going to get raises and you wouldn't pay for it, right? I shipped a package today at UPS, 7 miles from my house, and it cost $32. It was 8 pounds. I was like, for the love of God,
I'm driving it. I'm driving it.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me. I tried. I called and yelled at them. They wouldn't let me drive it. But I think a lot of it, I think you're seeing it slow down. And I mean, in my view, like, I still kind of view Wrangler and Gladiator both. It's discretionary, right? Nobody needs a Wrangler or Gladiator, right? So when you start tightening your purse strings because of, whether you're worried about the future, you start seeing things. The discretionary stuff's where you start seeing it go first. You start seeing sports cars go down or anything you don't really need. I mean, if you work and you need a truck, I mean, you need a truck. You can buy a used truck, you can buy a new truck, whatever, but you need a truck. Nobody needs a Wrangler, right? Nobody needs a Gladiator. That's why I think you're seeing some of it.
Yeah.
Luckily, I don't have to deal with sales, so I don't know the real answer. So whatever I say is probably totally wrong.
Well.
Am I right by saying that this is one of the first times that there have been incentives on a Wrangler?
They've had them on Gladiator. They've had them a few times. Wrangler, it's very rare. They usually have them on. A lot of times they'll have them on sports. Like you'll see it, like because they can only build so many Rubicons. Like the actual demand for Rubicon is higher than we can build. So you'll see it sometimes on sports because they just get too many out there. But you don't see it a lot. Gladiator, I've never seen. I think last time you would have seen, I'll call it crazy level stuff, was like 08, right? Like in 08, like if you bought a JK, they were 15% off, and you got lifetime warranties for free and stuff like that. So it's been a long time since you've seen that. We won't mention what happened in 08 after that, but that's that's the last time you saw it.
You were going to ask him something, Armando?
No, the point too is the sports cars. All of these Hellcats and red eyes and all these other stuff are sitting on the dealer lots now too.
Mm-hmm. I saw somebody yesterday in the local Facebook group posted a Sublime Challenger. I can't remember, Hellcat, red eye, wide body, whatever. He wanted 350 grand. Ooh. It's because it's one of one. I'm laughing because I'm like, he's like, it's one of one. It's the only one that's a manual transmission and Sublime with stripes. And I don't know, he listed like, smokers group. I don't fucking know, whatever came up, make it one of one. And I was like, I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. I only saw it because I keep trying to find a Sublime, Hellcat. That's Ferrari money. I can go buy literally a Ferrari.
Yeah.
It's still a challenge. I mean, the Challengers are cool. They go in a straight line and really well. And I mean, I've even had one on a track. They do okay, but that's a Ferrari. I can literally buy a Ferrari. Some of them, they're nuts. And surprisingly, they're selling the $100,000 last call ones. Actually sold a lot of them, but I think then the dealers started. The problem they have is the same thing they were seeing before. They keep trying to price gouge, and I think the people that have the discretionary money to just walk in and pay somebody 120 grand for a car you don't really need, they were fine doing that during, rates at 2%, right? Because they're making 5% of their money, and somehow they'll end up paying nothing for the car, right? They're getting it all. Now that same thing is, rates on everything are 7-8%. Their investments are less than that. Probably they're just not dumping money. Like that's I think what you're starting to see is it'll trickle down, and they've said they're going to cut rates now over the next year, but it's going to take time it's like this, everything lags, right? So even when that happens, you're going to see there's going to be a lag before things come down after that. My view. To be very clear, I'm not an economist.
I don't think any of us are. The way we spend money, no. So another question that I had for you is, I don't know if you can really speak on it, but the EV recalls that are going on right now. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
I have no idea. Like literally, there's one thing I stay out of. It's all the service and recalls and stuff. I don't even know I know that I see it posted 27 times an hour on Facebook. But I don't even know what's actually failing or what they're going to do to fix it. I'm assuming
Is
you mean
this
the
all your
PHAVs,
fault?
right? Like is that what you're talking about? Like the PHAVs?
Yeah.
I know it exists. I have no idea what it is.
Is this all your fault now? These recalls?
Somehow. I still blame Carvello. Can I blame Carvello on that one still?
Yeah. It's all Tony.
That's Tony.
So we're gonna blame Tony now.
Yeah, just
So I've seen some manufacturers talk recently about pulling out of the EV market. Is this something that Jeep might do also? Is start to slow down production on the EVs?
oh that whole thing is very. I think it'll be very fluid and contentious over time. Yeah, it's because I work on a lot of that stuff now. To be very clear, and it's the challenges you have is at a point the government's almost forcing you to do it, right? So the question becomes, do you try? Tesla's done a pretty good job. It took them a long time, but they've gotten to where they're, they have their niche and they do very well. The thing is, Tesla sells as many vehicles since they've existed as the larger auto companies sell in less than a year, right? So I mean, it's still small, right? Personally, they have pros and cons to everything, right? I've driven some of the EVs that are just like, I'm like, damn, I'd take one of those. The problem is going to be until you see the chargings, it's a chicken or egg scenario right now, right? Nobody will pay for charging networks in the US because nobody has EVs, but nobody will buy EVs until somebody puts chargers in. And it's kind of one of those, like they're just against each other, right? And I think the government, part of that IRA stuff is trying to help put chargers out there. But the problem you have, I think, just my view, is if you force it, there's a very large population of people that just will refuse to do it, even if it's good, because you're forcing them, right? If I take away your choice, your natural reaction is, I'm not doing that. And there's many cases where, I mean, they just don't work. I mean, like I could not have an EV truck, right? Like, I mean, if I wanted to drive a truck from here, tow my Jeep to Utah, that'd be a 3-week vacation. It'd be a week out, enjoy my vacation, and a week home. On the flip side, Mallory driving to work and back in her Wagoneer, getting 10 miles a gallon, it's probably better if she actually had a little commuter EV. I think you'll see it. It's just, there's a lot of fluidity, I guess is a good way of saying it. Like our corporate one is still going down that path of, there's an entire corporate strategy on where we're going with it that I don't know if they'll back off or not. I know a lot of people here are, though. Like GM has, Ford has,
Toyota.
Toyota's been back and forth numerous times. Like they said they were not going to do it, and they said they were, then they said they weren't. The bigger challenge you have now too is it's just the cost. Like it's not coming down, right? So same thing we were talking about with expensive cars. The OEMs can't lose money. Like, Tesla was able to exist for decades, losing money year after year, and the way they stayed in business was selling us credits, right? I mean, they made a lot of money off selling credits to the other OEMs. But when you get into the general OEMs, you can't, if you don't raise the prices to offset the costs, you'll cease to exist, right? That's the hardest part is, and people, will you pay $20,000 more for the same thing you have in an EV? Some people will, some people won't.
The other problem you might agree with this is the advancement or innovation of fast charging.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They need to get to the point. I mean, again, this is me, the engineer in me. If you go back to the beginning of time, like think of it like you do AA batteries. Like if somebody at the beginning of time would have said, rather than worry about charging the batteries so great, make them so they're interchangeable. Don't ask me how that would ever work in automotive, to be very clear. But like, imagine if you rather than had to pull up and plug in a charger, if you pulled up and something came up and grabbed the battery up underneath and put another one in, and you paid like a fee per month to have that, right? So, speed. You can fill what's it take? Even my Cummins is probably, figure by the time I stop, fuel it, go in, use the restroom, let the kids snoop around, you're probably there 20 minutes, right? Maybe 20, 25 minutes. At least with an EV, you can plug it in, walk away, and not have to wait. But until you get to that 20-minute phase where you can get the same kind of range on a regular basis, like not having to look for it, that's where you get the struggle, I think. Because you really need the fast charging.
Plus having that, 300 miles apart from
Right.
each other, because if you don't have that charging station or the ability to charge somewhere along your journey, you're almost hosed.
Yeah. They just launched last week. So in Detroit, they just built a road that has wireless charging into it that they're testing with Ford right now. So it actually charges as you drive over it. I mean, God knows what that would cost, right? I mean, I don't think you're going to see an interstate network.
Electromagnetic rays, and I just imagine all the freaking brain cancer is happening. But
there's.
I think the thing that I see with the electric cars is it's a commuter car. It's not necessarily a family car. It's if you're a heavy commuter, it makes sense. Being in Southern California, I could see that commute from the Inland Empire to the city every day, not paying for gas. So my brother just bought a 4xe because he drives 22 miles to work. He goes to work, he plugs it in, sits there for 8 hours, he drives it home, and I think he pays, I don't know, like $8 to charge it at work, something like that. So they do like so much that he plugs it in. So it costs him almost nothing to do it, where if he was driving a Jeep, it would cost him probably $12, $13 a day. And it costs him $8. It costs him $8 at home. He's got solar and a battery, so it costs him almost nothing at home. So it works out. But until that range and the stations, and we even talked about getting rid of the Stinger and getting an electric car. But it's hard because you want to go to LA, you want to go to Vegas, you want to go to San Diego. It's just at the end of the range.
Yep.
So
in an ideal world, right? So if it's too hot, you turn the AC up too high, and So what do I do? I'm gonna get to Yuma, have to stop and take an hour, and you get to halfway anywhere and stop and charge. So it just doesn't make sense for me to do that. So on an everyday commuter to work, but just on a long trip basis, it isn't a practical family vehicle to be traveling with. That's kind of what Mallory said. Like she said, like her next. I lease her cars from work, right? So every year she gets a new car. It's a pro and a con, right? Because it's nice because every year you get a new car. The downside is you never get used to you get a new car every year. But that's what we said with hers. I said if you got one of those for driving to work and stuff around here, you'd be fine as long as we still have my truck. So if we want to go visit my mom in Pennsylvania, right, I can just jump in the truck and go. I think that's where you'll see that the folks that transition that aren't in the city centers. Right, in the U.S., that's where you'd see it first. I think it's multi-car households, right? Because you could probably have one for your commuting around and one that, if you want to go on a road trip, I guess. It's funny because we've done research, right? It's like the average person takes I think it's less than 2 road trips a year. And even though most of them are actually within the range of an EV, but the number one rejection thing is, oh, I can't get somewhere, right? Because it's just that ability. I mean, right now, you can jump in. You might never do it, but you could go get in your vehicle right now and you could drive to California. Well, I guess for you, it's not that far. You could drive to New York City, right? Mm-hmm. You're not doing that today in an EV without some very good planning. I mean, Tesla does a pretty good job about laying it out for you. I mean, I will give them that. They've done a good job about trying to make it easier. Right? Gabe, do you have a Tesla? No.
Will had one for a brief time. No, Will had one for a brief
somebody
time.
I know has one, and it's like you hit the nav, and it'll actually tell you like where to stop and stuff. And it's weird because it doesn't run you out. Like it'll have you go. It knows where its chargers are along the line, and so that you're not stopping all the time. So you're not stopping for long times. It'll have you like stop here for 20 minutes and stop there for 30 minutes. And the problem is, it adds 12 stops to your trip, which gets if I was traveling with the kids, it'd be fine because they want to stop every freaking hour and a half anyway. But if I'm trying to get somewhere, it's not going to work.
You're not cannonballing to Moab.
No, I did that once.
Do you ever see any cooperation with Tesla to incorporate their charging units into Jeep? That way, it's easier for a Jeep to charge at a Tesla station.
I think we're the last standout that hasn't agreed to do that yet. I think. I don't know. Maybe we have. I don't know. I know. All the other OEMs have signed up with them in the last 6 months or so. I don't think we did yet. I don't pay attention.
That's kind of funny because you guys are their biggest customer for Offset.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, it's until 2021 we were their biggest customer. Yes, I think we generated more profits for them than anyone as FCA. But it's what's weird is in the US, I think everyone will have to almost use that one just because it's already there. They chose to do it themselves and spend a lot of money doing it. And I think they did it on purpose, right? Because they knew if they got that whole network there. I mean, this year I think it was GM that did it first. That said they were going to use Teslas and Tesla was going to let them. And then no joke, it was like just one after the other. It was like Ford, Mercedes, VW, like all Monroe. I still don't think we did yet, but I don't know for sure. But then what's weird is now, like I know we're in some group with, I can't remember who all there. There's like 5 or 6 of them that all are going together to build another charging network. And it's like I have flashbacks to, and you guys will know this. Most people I say this to, they're like, my kids look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, it's like Betamax versus VHS, right? It's like,
oh yeah,
right. Only one can live. Like you can't. If you try to do both, one fails. Like it's nuts.
Look at Apple with having to switch to USB-C.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from Europe.
It's the same principle.
Yeah. Well, that was because of Europe forcing them to. They don't want to.
I'm glad they did because I was sick of people asking me, "Do you have an iPhone charger?" I'm like, no, motherfucker, I have an Android.
That's me. Yeah, that's so. Our house, all the kids have iPhones, and then Mallory and I have Androids. She tried switching to Apple once because she wanted to be able to message with the kids and stuff. I think she made it like 3 hours, and it went and took it back and swapped it. But even now, they're still screwed because now they have USB-C, but now all the plugs on the end are USB-C. They go in the wall too. So like all of our adapters are USB-A or whatever the hell the old one is.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm still trying to figure out how to get all of them so you can just have one set of crap.
So
I don't know. It'll get there.
So go on Amazon and you can buy a 10-pack of these little adapters. It goes from A to C.
Oh yeah, I have those. Yeah.
I bought them. They're in the trailer. They're in the cars. They're in everywhere. Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear about anything.
Yeah.
There's 10 of them. There's 10 of them.
Or break those. I even have. So I bought all the kids ones that were USB-C to Apple, and they even have little like hooks. Like you hook it on the cable with a chain.
Yeah, they're gone.
They're all gone. They lost all. I'm like, how did you lose them? I don't know. They could lose anything. I guess if I was a teenager, I probably did the same thing. Yeah. It's. I don't know. Yeah, that whole EV thing. It'll be interesting. It's
so. The other thing I want to bring up was Amazon is going to start selling cars. I don't know if you've heard this or not.
Yeah.
And they're going to have their own financing and everything. Do you anticipate Jeep joining this movement for Amazon? Because I think there's some sort of approval level that Amazon has to go through first before they can start selling your vehicles, right?
Oh, it's nuts. Like there's that one. I don't know if it goes that way. It would make sense from the fact that people hate dealers in general. The challenge is there's a lot of laws that prevent you from actually doing that. Like there's just, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. There's laws that are 50, 60 years old, like franchise laws that you can't even have a dealer. You can't open a new one within a certain range of another one because of, contracts had been written for 60, 70, 80 years from when they were, God, whoever owned, probably AMC days. That's what makes it hard. So you get cause like Tesla, I mean, good example, Michigan, you cannot buy a Tesla in Michigan. Like if you want to buy one, you have to go to Ohio to get it because it's and there's quite a few states it's actually direct to customers illegal. Like I don't mean like in the sense that people don't like it. It's literally illegal. Like you can't do it. Like there's actually, the lobbies of the dealers way back in the day were very good and they have some good laws, but they're I think it'll go there eventually. Like more and more people want to do it. The challenge you have is if you lose the dealers, ignoring the new car sales, right? Like if you find a good dealer, like I have a good one, like I don't, so I can't relate well to people that don't, even though I know it exists. I have a good one. The service is the hard part, right? So like if the dealers all start going away and you have a problem with your car, it's one of the biggest complaints on like Tesla, right? It's like, again, so where I am right now, if I had an issue with my car, I have to take it to Cleveland, right? Because there's no dealers and there's no service centers. I think they might have opened one here recently, but that's the challenging part. So I think someday it'll probably get there. They started doing it last year where you can go online and basically try to build and buy your vehicle through Jeep.com, but it still has to go through a dealer because of all the franchise, all the rules that are in our contracts. So if they eventually go like through Amazon, they'd have to probably do some third party weirdness where it was like it might come from them, but then Amazon would have to go through some dealer, and it's a hodgepodge. The legacy OEMs have it, again, just the decades or centuries of contracts we have with all the dealers that spent, tens of millions of dollars building dealerships. You can't just walk away from them.
It's interesting. And this is nationwide or just?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Everywhere.
Probably worldwide.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You get into the other countries, it's even weirder. They've got distributor networks, and it gets. The U.S. and Canada actually both are very like franchise type things. There's, like I said, there's a lot of I don't even know a good way to explain it. It's not my expertise. I worked with them once on a couple of the projects, but there's all these they're like dealer areas. Like, so like if you go onto mopar.com, you can actually order parts, right? Like, I don't know if most people don't even know that, but you can actually order direct from Mopar, but it comes from the dealer, not from us, because we're not allowed to sell direct. And then what's interesting is you put your address in, it has to go to the dealer that's closest to your house, because even if the guy that's like a mile farther has a better price, it has to go to the guy closer because of the way the zones are all set up and the laws on where we can send people.
That's crazy.
It's just, how long it takes for stuff to adapt, right? That's where the new guys, I think, have an advantage. Like some of the newer ones that like Tesla refused to ever have dealers. But like some of those ones like Lucid and all those, you're starting to see do the same thing. The challenge is as they start increasing their volumes, it's hard because the service side of it, that's the hardest part, like service, used cars, collision repair. If the dealers all went away, like you want us to fix it? Like you're going to send it to Michigan, right? Like It would be cool though to go on Amazon and just pick my car, and it'd be nice to not have to haggle, right? Like there's just a price. Like there's no shopping. Now the problem is that price would probably be higher and everybody would complain. So I think it's probably lose-lose. No matter what you do, it's bad. But I don't think the direct e-commerce thing's coming anytime soon. For most of the legacy OEMs, just because you can't, because of the contracts that are with the dealers.
So I have one more listener question, and this comes from our good friend Jeremy Purick.
His cowboy hat he should have on. Yes.
He mentioned a special package that the Wrangler's going to have called the decal package.
What? Okay. The decal package?
He told me to ask you about the decal package.
I don't even know what he's talking about.
I wonder if he was being facetious.
He has to be. I'm like, I might make up some bullshit to tell him all the time, but I don't think I've come up with that
one. I don't remember giving him that bullshit story.
Yeah, I don't remember that one. I used to screw with him all the time. Every time he finishes updating his parts lists, because he'll usually send me some note like, "You're an asshole. I just had to add 10,000 parts or something." I'll be like, "Oh, cool. Time to release my next complexity upgrade." Because they're just the number of things like on JO and JT really blew it up, right? Because there's just so many. I mean, think about like the vehicles, right? I mean, you've got 6 different ride heights from the factory on a Wrangler now.
Yeah,
so it used to be one.
Axle differences, different things. Max toe, not max toe. All sport max toe.
Maybe you could go into that. Maybe you could go into that for me. What would be your ideal build setup if someone was to go on Jeep.com and order their rig? What would be your ideal setup through that system?
If I was going to order one, I just go click the 392 box and be done. Because it comes with 35. Wait, is budget an issue? Because it changes minutes.
These days, yes.
I mean, honestly, so the one thing I think is cool, if I was ordering one today, right? I mean, my son has a Wrangler, right? He has a Willys Extreme Recon. So it's a Willys on 35s, right? It doesn't have all kinds of fancy shit, but it looks cool because it's got 35s on it. If he actually wanted to use it, he could. The 24s, we added rear lockers to them, right? So I'd always tell people if I was going to buy one for me, I'd either buy, ignoring my 392, I'd either buy like a Rubicon with the factory 35s or a Willys with the factory 35s, because that's just, you could probably do 90% of what, again, people are willing to take a new vehicle out and do, right? And it's all under warranty. I mean, it comes from the factory. That way you don't have to deal with it. If you want to upgrade it, you can. Every OEM guy that listens to you right now, or aftermarket guys, like, what the F, Scott? They all want me to say like a base sport and go drop $5,000 on the suspension. But if you don't want to touch anything, like I'd probably get one of those. Now, me myself, I would buy that and then change my mind 15 times, rip it all apart. Like I have 2 in my garage right now, and it'd sit there for a year till I figure out how to put it back together.
Now, you know, the purists are listening to this and listening to you say Willys instead of
I know
Willis.
that's what everybody calls it at work. So I've been brainwashed.
Yeah, it drives me crazy sometimes when I see that battle.
I saw it yesterday,
on a group or something.
Again, yesterday.
Did you really?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the biggest argument that came from someone was, "How would you like it if someone mispronounced your name?" I was like, "Well, he's got a point."
Yeah. Well, people mispronounce my last name about 90% of the time, so I'm fine.
Like Armando.
No, I just do it purposely to piss him off.
Yeah.
You have to understand. There's some things that just happen to happen.
Yeah. It's actually, so my son starts to get it now, right? Because he's old enough now that people say it wrong and he corrects them. I told him, I said, no, you got to look at it differently. I said, it has been the best telemarketing filter of my entire life. Because as soon as somebody says my last name wrong and asks for me, I'm like, nope, not here.
It's not him, not me.
Yeah. Nope, not me. Yeah, that's a constant. There's all kinds of constant debates on that. I just said it wrong. Whatever.
So the other question I had for you is because this came up. You saw the thread. Our friend Sean Palestrani got his Jeep coated in ceramic, whatever the fuck it is, and he spent I don't know how much fucking money for a car wash.
A
lot of money on a car wash, and he's like, "Oh, it makes such a difference." Why doesn't Jeep come with like a paint package like that or something? Or maybe it does.
Your dealer will gladly put that on your vehicle
they'll
for
do
you.
that for you.
Yeah, your dealer,
Really?
gladly put it on you for $14.99.
So cheap. Sean was just too cheap to do it after he bought his $392.
Yeah. Well, he's probably smart because they probably would have charged it 4 times what anybody else would.
Yeah,
it's like the $6.99 nitrogen fill. Like for $700, I'll put air in your tires for you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Most of that paint stuff, it's too. Again, goes back to like, so they've never been able to do that in the line, right? Because you have to do them all the same. So by the time you take it off the line and do it somewhere else, it'll cost more for us to do it than just have somebody else that does that do it.
Yeah, no.
I don't know why he did it anyways. I mean,
no,
he drives a big truck for work. He drives 2 miles to work. He doesn't wheel. Yes, Sean, I said it. You don't wheel.
But I understand the advantage of it. So a lot of dealers do it. We paid for it on the Stinger, and it has a 5-year warranty. So any scratches or anything, you take it in, they buff it out. They recoat it, and you're good to go. The nice thing about the aftermarket is the same thing: is your local guy comes over and can do repair. But having the ceramic on the truck, first adventure to Colorado, no ceramic. I took 3 months to get all the scratches off. Every weekend I have to make a polisher, and it looks good. And then the next day I watch it, I'm like, those scratches are still there. All the way back and down. Okay, the scratches are finally gone. 3 months later, we took it to Washington, ceramic on it. I was all pissed off. Whenever I came home, one buff, it was gone. It was perfect. So there's an advantage. So if he does happen to go the wrong way down a fire road, he'd be okay.
Yeah, I'm a bad one to ask. I couldn't tell you the last time I washed one of my Jeeps. I don't think I've ever hand washed. I don't remember. I literally,
I was the same way.
My 392 is over 2 years old now. It's never been washed. I go through the car wash and spray it off every so often, but I'm terrible.
Yeah. Well, Sean's old Jeep, I don't want to say he didn't take care of it, but it looked like he didn't take care of it. So I'm just going to say he didn't take care of it.
But wait, you have
But after dropping 75,000 or whatever the fuck it cost for the 392, I'm sure he really wants to take care of this one.
Yeah, this one will be a whole different animal. But yeah,
I won't lie. Every time I think it was the first time I took mine, it was Moab, right? And I took out my right rear fender, like my little fender extension that everybody hates that I left on. Yeah, it protected my whole fender. Managed to not have any scratches on it. Then I backed into my Ram in my driveway. I literally backed my Jeep right into my Ram. Managed to not only scratch up my fender and my Ram. It's like, so this is great. I just managed to take out both my vehicles. Somehow it didn't get on the ring camera because at least it would have been funny then, but it didn't. And then I took it out in the woods here, and there's like a big scratch right through the Rubicon sticker up over the hood, and I'm like, yeah, it's done. It's basically garbage now. So
Scrap it.
Yeah.
But
Really
wait,
big.
but wait,
Oh, wow.
you have a car wash and a gas filling station at work.
Yeah, that's just for my truck though.
Oh, it's just for the truck.
I can't take my Jeep there. Yeah, that wouldn't go over well.
Oh, because
Only company vehicles can go there.
Okay, that's not a company vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, okay,
No, that's mine.
That's what the difference is. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, my truck gets washed just because I can drive through the car wash. That's the only reason it gets clean. I'm terrible. My wife washes hers she's not religious about keeping it clean, but she washes hers at least once a month by hand. I'm like, I don't wash mine. It's wait.
So living in the South, we get dew every morning. So that's my car wash.
Oh, yeah.
The dew I let the dew just drip out right off.
Jake and I are getting the heebie-jeebies over here.
Oh yeah. I will comically send Jake pictures sometimes. Like I sent Jeremy because so when I was going to modify my 392, Jeremy literally told me he would not sell me parts, and he would flag it in the system that if he saw any 392 order for parts come in with my name, would cancel. Like, he was that adamant about me not modifying it. So I will send a picture every so often where I'll just like wipe the dash. So there's like the nice fingerprint where it's like this thick in dust, and send it to him. And he's like,
the shakes.
Yeah. Armando, I think there's still leaves in it from when I went wheeling in October. I think there's still some of those leaves in it. It's just going to get dirty again.
You know what?
That's what drives me crazy. We go to Moab, and after a trail, everyone just rushes to the car wash. I'm like, but tomorrow it's going to get dirty again. Why?
Well, it's all the manufacturers and the people that have some sort of responsibility have to do that. Not everyone does that.
Yeah, I suppose.
I ran mine topless last year at EJS. So for the rest of its life, it's, all the grease in the seats, everything's all red. So I'm like, it's fine. It'll be fine forever.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, listen, thanks for coming on. We're going to wrap this up, I think. Were you going to say something more, Mike?
No. I was just going to be more anal.
Oh. But yeah, thanks for coming on, talking a little bit about Jeep, talking a little bit about the future and that sort of thing. So we appreciate it.
Thanks for the fucking ducks, asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, man. Is there anything you could do to put a stop to that? Like put little stickers in the new Jeeps that says this is a no ducking thing?
Hey, I am the one. I will support that to the end of. I mean, I've taken. I can't remember the last person I did it to, but like at events, my favorite thing to do is to like go on Amazon and order like 500 ducks and send them to somebody to dump in somebody's Jeep that doesn't like them. So like
that's happened to me.
Oh yeah. I don't know who did that to you.
I think I actually did that to you. Maybe it wasn't you. I know I've done it to a couple people now. It's worth it. It's the best $100 I ever spent.
It's horrible. Absolutely horrible.
I only have two, so I can't say anything. And they're both ones that were. My son likes them, so they're still there.
I'm gonna have to break that habit from him or something.
I'm trying to break my kid.
Give him some beef jerky.
I'm trying to break my kid. I can't stop her.
Yeah, I'll let him be. I won't get mad. I don't actively go and do it, but I won't get mad if somebody gives them to me. If they won't make them not smile.
Yeah. All right, everyone.
Cool.
Thanks for listening. Scott, again, thanks for joining us. And
thanks for having me.
Everyone will.
Thanks, brother.
No problem. Everyone will catch you on the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Right. Thanks, guys.
See you.